some of you braved the weather to get here, but some of us have to brave it to get back, so we will do our best to move quite rapidly. Dr. Brumley will be here around 10:30, so wherever we are in our meeting, we'll just kind of pause, as I think he has some words that he wants to address us. So, I'll have roll call, please.
Dr. Baker?
Here.
Ms. Chasel? Here. Mrs. Zalo? Mr. Hightower?
She's here, but she stepped out.
Okay.
I'm here.
Dr. Houston?
She must have stepped out too.
Okay.
No,
Ms.
she's
LaPierre?
here.
Ms. Louise is not here. Ms. Patrick? Here. Sister Carol? Present. Dr. Williams?
Here.
Yeah,
Okay, before I ask the guests who are here today to introduce themselves, I'd like to welcome the newest member of our non-public school council, Dr. Mark Williams, who is the superintendent in the Diocese of Houma Thibodeau. So Mark, you have about 2 seconds to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Mark Williams, pleasure to be here. I'm currently serving in the Diocese of Houma Thibodeau. I was the associate superintendent for Dr. Houston prior to that, and the principal of Archbishop Shaw High School prior to that. Great to be here. Thank you.
We're glad to have you. Let us know after the meeting what you think about our meeting. We'll let you know what we think about you. Because you're on probation. Okay, could we start on this end? Just to introduce yourselves, please.
Nikki Landry, Executive Director of Education Policy, Department of Education.
Matt Johnson, Chief Strategy Officer of the department.
Good morning, Max Day, Assistant Superintendent for the Office of School Choice.
Christina Woods, Office of School Choice. Deidre Mulligan, Office of School Choice, Non-Public Department.
Ishana Sanders, Office of School Choice, Non-Public Department.
Kim Rodriguez, Federal Support. Jackson McGilvey, Federal Support. Daphne Flippoint, State on Funds and Federal Programs.
Keith Leger, Department of Education.
Thomas Rock, Superintendent of the Diocese of Alexandria, as a large member on Bessie.
Joan Hunt, Attorney, Department Head.
And our wonderful.
Albert, staff.
Great, thanks. Anita, you should have gotten your minutes from Shannon. I need a motion to approve the minutes. Mr. Carroll, second. Mr. Hightower. All in favor? Okay, so we move on to 3.1, consideration of an updated report regarding the application process for non-public schools seeking state approval.
Yes.
I need a motion to receive. Patrick, second. Mr. Carroll.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Max Day. I am the Assistant Superintendent over the Office of School Choice, and I'm going to hand this over to my team in a second. But before we get too far into this today, I just want to acknowledge what has been transpiring over the past few days around our sanctions, our calls with schools, the application process. To just be very honest, be very transparent with you, this has not gone the way that we wanted it to at all. And I think that we are at a point where Dr. Brumley wants to come in and personally address the concerns that have been raised. He will be here later in this meeting. And so what I'm asking for is, one, please accept our apologies in that rollout. And an apology doesn't come. And I'm going to fight it. I deeply apologize. The stress, the confusion, everything else that this is causing. We're working to get that right. Dr. Brumley is going to come talk to us this afternoon, or at the end of this meeting, about how we plan to move forward with that. And then the second thing that I would say is that if we could hold questions about sanctions until we get to that point in the conversation. But what our team can talk about today is, one, our non-public schools data submissions that we went through this spring, and then also we have an update on our site visits. We do acknowledge the questions and the urgency around sanctions, but again, we're just asking that we can address those when Dr. Brumley can get here. All right? Okay, and so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Deidre and Sean to walk us through our updates.
Good morning. So we'll get started with our LDE portfolio opportunities update. Okay, Okay, the agenda for this morning that we will be discussing will be the non-public school seeking state approval application update, scholarship application update, and our site visits. So the non-public schools annual approval and classification. Non-public schools seeking BESI approval are required annually to apply each fall and for approval for the following year. Applications for the 2023-24 school year were due on October the 7th through a jot form submission. Of the 371 total applications received, 200 were complete for the December BESI meeting. 80 of the schools did not complete the required submissions on time for December BESI. And we can also see the list of those schools in the 2023-24 non-public academic classification list. Of those, 61 remained incomplete as of 1/13/2023, and currently 49 remains incomplete as of yesterday. So the list is going down, but we need to get those completed. Of the 49 that's remaining, those schools will go to the April BESI. So if they send in all of their information, we will present them to BESI in April. Next, let's go into our scholarship application update. All right, our application cycle will end on January the 27th. The last day for schools to mark eligibility determination for the 2023-24 school year will be January the 31st. Quarter 3 enrollment reporting begins from February 1st to February 3rd. The transfer window will close for the 2022-2023 school year on February the 6th. The last day to submit all payment adjustment forms will be March the 6th. Main roster verification, that's when site registration will begin, will be April the 24th. Parent notification letters will go out as well on April the 24th. Site registration will end on May 26th. Spring registration workbook for all decline awards for non-registered students, that will happen on May the 26th. The transfer window will open again on June 12th, and the transfer window will close to get prepared for the school year on July the 18th. All of these are hard dates. These dates will not be changed, so these are dates that we need all of our schools to adhere to. Next, let's give a brief scholarship application update. As of January the 10th, we have received 6,893 applications. The number of schools that submitted the notice of intent form to continue in our program is 136, and the number of new seat applications is 1,358 applications. We receive an update on these numbers weekly, so those numbers will be changing, or they have already changed because we received the report this morning. Next, let's talk briefly about our site visits. So in accordance with BESI Bulletin 133 in administering our program, our department shall conduct site visits to each school that receive a scholarship cohort index below 50 in the most recent accountability cycle. For continued eligibility in the scholarship program, participating schools must meet the criteria for participation and, as needed, participate in additional site visits and audits and assessments of compliance with the applicable health and safety regulations. Now, we are here as a buffer to just support our schools. All of our schools know that Ishana and I handle mostly the diocese, she handles the independent schools, but we work collectively together to make sure that all of our schools are serviced. So we're here just as the people that try to make everything go smoothly with all of our schools, and all of them know that we are just a phone call away. They know how to put their hands on us real quick. So we're here if schools need us. So the purpose of the annual site visit, as I say, is not to go in to bring down the camera or anything like that, because that is not what's under our bulletin. We're there just for support for all of our schools. So we just want to have a face-to-face visit with non-public schools participating in the program, ensure that non-public schools are complying with the federal and state policies, review scholarship students' attendance and discipline records. We also want to review the health and safety compliance of the facility, and then review the BESI bulletin if needed, which the bulletins are 133 and 741 for non-public schools. Review documentation that discipline policy was distributed to all parents of students participating in the program, and review of required documents of participating students in cumulative folders. If needed, we will do a follow-up site visits, and schools should be deemed non-compliant. A follow-up visit shall be scheduled in accordance with our bulletins 133 and 741. Schools will be notified 2 weeks in advance of our visit so that they will be prepared for us, and they also have to accept our visit. So we send the notice, they send us an email back stating yes, and they give us the time that's good for them. We propose a time, and then they give us a time that that's good for them. As I said, we're just here to accommodate our schools to make sure that things are running smoothly with them. So you all know how to contact us if you all need us. I think you all have our individual, I know that you all have our individual emails, as well as you can contact us at studentscholarships@la.gov. Do you have any questions at this time? Yes.
Is there a release form that the parents will be given to say, yes, you can look at my child's attendance and discipline record?
They have 2 forms that they fill out at the beginning of the year, and all that information is entailed in those forms. Yes, sister.
My question is, if you have, let's say, 9 scholarship students in your entire school, do you 2 get a visit?
Yes,
Even if you have one, even if you have just a few students?
eventually, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect.
Yes. We try to visit our schools that meet the criteria, as well as we want to do a face-to-face at least to all of our schools over a certain period of time so that they can put names with faces.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
I need a motion to receive the report.
Well, we have a motion, but she actually went through 3.1,
Yeah.
3.2, and 3.3, so if we can just get that in globo.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's good, that's good. You listened to what I said earlier.
I
Great.
did.
We can have a piece of king cake.
You gave out 3 seconds. I made it.
Michelle,
I'll make a motion to include the 3.2 and 3.3 in that.
second, Michelle? Yeah. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Deidre.
Okay, we moving on to, I need a motion to receive the report, which is 3.4.
Motion.
Mr. Carroll, second right now.
Good morning. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started with bringing an update around some non-public school policy that we discussed in some of the last non-public school council meetings. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of talk through what we discussed, how this process went when we created that non-public work group. And then there's a little bit of extra feedback that I do need to get from y'all today before bringing you the final policy update. We were hoping to have a final update today with the policy for you to review the language, but there's still a little bit more input that we need from you all. So we'll bring that at the next non-public school. So as some of you are aware, or many of you are probably aware, we met in October with a non-public work group. And then early January, we were discussing specifically the policy needs of educators at non-public schools in those systems. In October, what we originally discussed was specifically that educational leader level 2 certificate or a mechanism for educational leaders at the school level to advance their certificate. So that was the policy that we had initially spoke about in October. Well, at that October work group meeting, it was brought to our attention that we may need to consider some other certificate types as well. They asked about some of those ancillary teaching certificates, ancillary service certificates. The ancillary service certificates do not require evaluation via Compass, so your educators that would qualify for ancillary service certificates, you can apply for those now. So there's no need to update those. Those are like school nurse, school psychologist, those types of things that are contingent upon issuance of a license, not contingent upon effective evaluation. So we don't need to touch those ancillary service certificates, but at the request at the October meeting, we did take a look at those ancillary teaching certificates. And in January, when we met, we discussed some of those additional teaching policy considerations. However, things happened, and there were no non-public representatives that were not a part of the diocesan system. So there's a few things that I'm going to ask you some questions about today just to get the feedback on before we go any further with the policy. So what we're actually looking to do is create an EDL2 asterisk. I did meet with our legal team, and Joan indicated that there were some requirements in statute that if an educator can't meet the requirements outlined in law or policy, then we would have to issue a separate certificate. So we went down the path of we will be issuing a separate certificate for this EDL2 asterisk to allow educational leaders that option for an evaluation in the non-public setting. Right now, there's no option for them to advance past that. So we did, in the policy, we do plan to create the language for that particular certificate. And along those lines, we're also going to create separate standard asterisk certificates for the following ancillary teaching areas. And you'll see those here. That's ancillary or talented artists. That includes music, theater, drama, visual arts, all of those. Math for professionals, dyslexia therapist or practitioner, school counselor, school librarian. We talked through those. We feel like there is a need for those. What I need from you all that we didn't get to discuss, there were only 2 others that were listed in that section of policy. We are thinking they're probably not applicable, but just wanted to check with y'all to make sure that none of you would use it. It's that Family and Consumer Sciences occupational program. I think that mostly deals with Jump Start now anyway, so we're not sure that any non-publics would take advantage of that. The diocesan folks said that they
We do offer Jump Start.
You do? Okay, all right, that's good to know. So we can update that one. Thank you. And then the other one is that JROTC, so that Reserve Officer Training Corps Instructor Certificate. Would any of you all use that on your campuses? If you will, then we'll update that to issue. If you think you might, we'll update that one as well.
I would say yes.
Yes.
We are in the process of creating a junior ROTC program at one of our high schools.
Okay, all right. Well, great. So we will add those 2 to this list, which means that will cover the whole section of ancillary teaching certificates. So what we'll do is we'll create a statement in the beginning of the policy in that ancillary teaching that will indicate that we're going to issue a standard asterisk certificate for any of those educators serving in a non-public setting. So we'll be issuing a separate certificate for each of those. And then under each section of those, that ancillary artist, that ancillary school counselor, librarian, all of that, we'll have these 2 statements here. We'll have one statement that pertains to the renewal of certificate holders in a public school setting. That'll be effective with effectiveness via Compass. And then we'll have a statement just like in the level 2 asterisk certificate that says they can earn effective ratings per local evaluations, and they need 3 out of the 5 there. So that's our plan for that. Now that we have all that input, we should be able to get the policy ready for your next meeting. We plan to bring this in April as part of a larger package. We're doing some other updates to policy in general, and so we plan to bring this as part of that package for April, Bessie. Any questions?
No, I just want to thank you for being so responsive and quick to make these, I think this is going to make a difference.
Great, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. We definitely encourage the feedback, and we're here to serve, so we want to continue doing that. When we can, we will. And if not, we'll try and find a way to do it, in some other way, so. All right.
No, we already have it. Sorry. Any opposed? Okay, I guess we can go with Daphne. Daphne? You can go until Dr. Bromley comes in. You might have more than 5 minutes. Well, he's supposed to be on his way, but I need a motion to receive the report 4.1. Raynell, second, timeout.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
How are you, ma'am? How are you? I missed you.
Okay. First off, I want to say to you that the LEAs are very, very supportive and really wanting us to help alleviate the carryovers that we're having in the non-public setting. As you know, due to COVID, a lot of professional development did not take place, and therefore, the carryover has continued year after year, but as we all know, that needs to come to a head. So we've been spinning our wheels and thinking about what can we do. LEAs on their own, we're reaching out to non-public schools. Non-public schools, we're reaching out to the LEAs, thinking certain things would take place. And as usual, I'm in the background, sitting, observing, and listening, and wheels turning. So we came up with Project Carryover. I shared it with a few LEAs, a few non-public schools, and other people related to non-public school operations, just to throw out some things that could possibly be done. And we felt like it was a strong possibility. If you have read the handout, you see that basically what we want to do is create a work group to help us look at how much carryover is there across the state and tackle it as a unit, not as individuals, not just LEAs, but actually look at it and tackle the carryover amount together, inclusive of everyone. So, with that being said, we're having work groups. The LEAs will have a work group to say what they're thinking and where they are. Some of them have given me some great reports this week. Hey, my carryover is down. Hey, we're to zero carryover. And this is wonderful. But I did a tally last night, and we're probably a little over 1 million. So we definitely have to get that down. Thus far, as I said, we're asking for the information based on the titles and the amount. This is what we're going to use. And once we look at that and get the LEAs to say, okay, yes, this is where we are, this is what we have, this is what we need to expend, then we're going to have a work group with LEAs and non-public school representatives and reach out to everybody to share what it is, what we're up against, and then create the charge. The charge being, how are we going to expend these funds? One way, and several ways that have been suggested, are we've been reaching out to vendors, consultants, who are willing to come in and do sessions either at the LEA, cross LEAs, or state level. I even have some LEAs say, hey, you guys can come up here and do a summit. You can come where we are and do a summit. And that would mean that everybody across the state has an opportunity to go to these places. So then how are we going to pay for this? How is this going to be handled? The LEAs will. The consultants, the vendors, everyone I've talked to has said, yes, I would be willing to do a contract with that LEA in support of making sure that you all can work together to expend the funds. Now, here's something else that's interesting. If we can make this work at a time when our non-public teachers are not working, then they could get a stipend to attend. Also, we have LEA teachers and non-public teachers who are very good in specific strategies. And so they would be able to present too, and we can use some of that funding to also provide them with a stipend. So what I would like for you guys to really do is to email me any vendors, any consultants, if you agree to this, that you think would be great to do this, as well as specific evidence-based strategies, best practices that you feel your staff, your teachers would really need or want to learn more about. Bottom line, all the allocations will go through the usual LEA process for contracts to hire the vendors or the consultants. It's not going to come through the state, it will go through the LEA. Now, if after doing all of that, there is any allocations left, One of the things that's on the table, and we will discuss in the work group, is that anything that's left after doing this year, within this school year, within this grant year, September 30th, ending September 30th, we would divide equally among the participating private schools to everyone, unless a private school says to us, that's okay, we don't need it. We've actually had a few to say to some LEAs, I don't mind if you share it with others, because we're at a point where we can only do this. So the whole purpose is not to lose the allocations and to be sure that we are all working together, we all have input, but yet, at the end of the day, we have expended the majority of these funds. Any questions?
Daphne,
Yes.
I think we have it's a good problem to have, but at our consultation meeting last month, they said that everything had to be spent for carryover and this year by June 30th. And because we've not been able to travel until this year, really, I was worried about losing that money because that's the way they presented it to us. That if by June 30th, your money is not spent, it's a sizable sum of money, which is wonderful, but I don't know that we're going to spend it all. So you're saying that money
Your
will
grant
be
year ends
reallocated.
September 30th.
Okay.
And so what I'd like you to do is send me that in an email,
Okay.
and then we will consult with that particular LEA.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I got an email right before I came down here. I was coming in usually a little later than I come in for something very similar, where the LEA said, no, the funds go back to the LEA.
Right.
They do not.
Okay.
That's been in the books for a while, and you know, with things like that, I like to deal with it one-on-one. I like to talk to the LEA, talk to the non-public school, find out what's going on, and then we get everybody together, Zoom, or if it has to be in person, some things call for in-person conversations. Whichever one it needs to be, we will have it, because the ending period is at the grant period of September 30th. And please understand, on the LEA side, they have a lot of new people at some of these LEAs, and they're either thinking about what they knew in the past, or if they see the current guidance, questioning it, and it's okay. I just thank goodness that they are open-minded enough to share that and to reach out and ask for support and understand what it is and comply with our guidance. So I thank you, and I look forward to working with you on it. Yes, Dr. Baker.
Question. This may sound weird. Is there any precedent? We've had people in who work with our faculty and admin team, but then also do a second presentation to parents, a parent group kind of thing. Is that money appropriate for that sort of person, or would it have to be separated out so that we're only looking at the teacher development piece?
No, it's a possibility, and there is a way. So email me what your thoughts are, what you want to do, what's the purpose.
Right.
Give me a justification, and we'll go from there, because it's possible. There have been many times that you can have things, first of all, through parent and family engagement, but there are other ways that you can do it with strategies and techniques, especially if you want parents doing something to help at home. Any other questions?
Thanks, Daphne. Any further discussion? Any opposition?
Excuse me. Hi, I'd like to make 2 announcements. First off, there was not an Eames report on this agenda. It will be on the agenda for March, but if you have specific questions that you need to ask, that staff is here for you after the meeting if you have something specific for them. And that agenda item will be on your March agenda. Secondly, Max has some information about a position that he would like to share with you so that you can forward that as needed.
Yes, thank you. Christine Barker, who you all know and have met and who generally addresses you in these meetings, her last day with the department is going to be January 31st. So we are looking for a new executive director of our non-public school programs. The job will be open until it's filled. I have job descriptions here. I know that you all have extensive networks. I would very much appreciate if you guys could share this. There's also a digital copy that we could send to you guys. If you have any questions, reach out to me, max.day, max.daigh@la.gov. And then one other thing I want to mention, on the back, it has desired qualifications. Honestly, it says 5 years experience, all that, we need smart, good, systems-oriented people that understand our non-public schools. So if somebody like that comes to mind right now, please send them our way. Like I said, they'll stay open until it is filled. Any questions about that position? All right, passing these around, take as many as you like.
The question is, so Detram takes care of her
So,
position?
Here we go. Yep, day to day won't change. Teacher and Shonda will still be the main point of contact for the people that they have been assigned to be main points of contact for.
So who's going to try to tell us about these sanctioned schools?
Yes,
She was doing that yesterday.
yes. We will handle that specific problem today, right? And then as we move through this transition, we will name the people that are your interim contacts until we have that person fully brought on board. All right.
And we're still waiting on Dr. Bromley, so if you want a piece of king cake, please help yourself.
Next meeting is March 21st.
Thank you. I was gonna ask that. This one wasn't on my calendar by my own
Yeah,
fault. so-
it's at the bottom of the agenda. Not a bad idea.
That's what I'm thinking.
You know what? It's not a bad idea.
We run that through. I think we took the best thing ever.
Text Martha and ask her what she thinks. We have students here, but it's in falls, we're doing competition on the Friday, March, 3rd, 4th, and we just realized it's Lent. So we can't feed anybody meat.
Here's a million player, here she can do.
Yep.